Interesting. Now, I'm really interested in knowing more about curing the cause and preventing the disease. That program, that book that you have. What was your motivation behind writing "Curing the Cause and Preventing the Disease"? Do you want to share with us?
Well, yes, there's plenty of information out there on functional medicine to the professionals. There's plenty of information out there on the internet for anybody that wants to search it. But the question always comes up when you look on the internet, is it real information?
Yeah.
Or is it just somebody making up a story to sell a product?
Exactly.
I've always wanted to get out into the public eye to explain to them the truth and the facts on health and medicine and really what they can do to improve their own health. I learned that I enjoyed lecturing a number of years ago, and I just felt that this would be my next step, is to move out of just private practice and really explore the possibilities of educating the public.
I'm trying to build awareness and throw it out there so people know their alternatives.
Absolutely.
Very
Absolutely.
Very impressive.
Now, Dr. Ross, you'd mentioned that the actual term functional diagnostic medicine has been around for quite some time.
Yes.
Although nobody seems to really know what it is, or
Right.
nobody's actually heard of it. So where did you find out about it, and are there people that mentored you, and how did you come up through using that type of medicine?
Right, and like I said, it was coined about 32 years ago by Dr. Jeffrey Bland. That's where I started studying it way back when. There were some diagnostic tests available back then, just a couple of companies, a couple of laboratories that were doing it. Really, I think probably in the last 5 to 10 years, it's become much more accepted. I used to go to these seminars on functional medicine, and we'd primarily see colleagues of chiropractic and naturopathic. I was at one just a few weeks ago, and there were about 400 doctors there, and half the room was medical doctors.
Wow.
So we're seeing a real shift, a real paradigm shift right now in the awareness of functional medicine, not only in the alternative medicine area, but in the traditional area.
No doubt. No
That's
doubt.
great. That's great.
One physician in particular grabbed a hold of me at lunchtime, and he says, "We got to talk." And he was a thoracic surgeon, a cardiothoracic surgeon. And he's become so excited about this area. And he says, "You know, Dr. Ross," he says, "I'm getting so upset because I'm cracking people's chests open, and I know when I sew them up and give them back to their primary that they're going to be on statins and ACE inhibitors and all these drugs, and it's not doing anything to prevent them from coming back to see me."
Exactly.
So it's great to see that other professionals, especially traditional medicine, is realizing that the path that they've taken with traditional medicine is not going to successfully heal their patients anymore.
Sure, sure. It makes a lot of sense.
And it's good to see that. It's good to see that, because I think people are getting a little bit impatient with the doctors in the medical system nowadays, and people are smarter today, and they're looking for alternatives, a way of preventing the disease, as you say, rather than waiting until they're already sick and then trying to fight that losing battle.
Then it becomes too late, and that leads to more drugs and more of everything else. So
too late.
Very good approach.
Absolutely. Like I had a patient a while back who was a cardiac patient, and he came to me after seeing his cardiologist. He had an arrhythmia, an abnormal rhythm, and the doctor put him on some medication to balance that out, and then gave him some muscle relaxers because he had anxiety. He then went and saw his family physician, who put him on an antidepressant. So he comes in to see me. Yeah, and he comes in to see me with a bag of drugs.
Wow.
And we did some real basic testing, looking at vitamin, mineral, and antioxidant levels, nutritional levels, and found that he was deficient in magnesium. Got him on magnesium. To this day, he's not taking those medications anymore.
Very good. Wow.
So
just something that simple, that little can.
There's a different way to look at it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Wow, that's amazing.
Well, Dr. Ross, we're going to have to take a break for the next segment, but before we do, what are the two biggest benefits that you think our viewers would receive by following your program and your tips?
Well, for one, they can find ways to get to the root cause of their health challenges that they've been dealing with for such a long time. And two is functional medicine will not only restore function, it might even make you live longer.
Gotta love that.
I think that's a good benefit.
A longer life, absolutely.
Right.
Welcome back to Business Success Weekly, where we have Dr. Stephen Ross as our guest. Now, Dr. Ross, how can the average person benefit the most from functional diagnostic medicine?
Well, the benefit is really just getting started on it and investigating how your body's functioning. It's not just for people that are sick. And I oftentimes will have people come in once they understand what it is, who are healthy or they feel they're healthy, but they just want to make sure that they're on the right track.
See, the old frame of thought is I have to be sick first in order to go see my doctor.
Right.
It's never the other way around where, you know what, I feel great and I want to make sure that I continue on this path.
Right. And that's really what we're trying to change here. It's the whole concept of what healthcare is for. When you look at preventative medicine and traditional medicine, you look at things like pap smear and cholesterol checking and blood pressure. And when you look at those tests, they're not really preventative tests. These are tests to determine whether you have the disease or not. So at that point, it's too late.
Oh, absolutely. Which was actually you answered my next question, because I was about to ask you, how does functional diagnostic medicine differ than traditional medicine? But apparently you have answered that question. So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and the basic core value of functional medicine is really based upon what we call the 4 R's, the 4 R's of healthcare. Okay. The 4 R's consist of remove, reinoculate, replace, and repair. And that's really the basis. Number 1, being remove, is we start by removing anything that might be interfering with your normal physiology. Look at your diet. Are you consuming pesticides, herbicides? Are you working in a sickly environment? That's where we start with diagnostic testing as well, is let's take a look at how your body's functioning. And we have what's called the 3 pillars of health. And the 3 pillars of health consist of your hormonal immune system, your digestive system, and your detoxification system.
Interesting. Wow.
So those 3 pillars have to be functioning at peak performance for all the other systems to be working along with it, like the cardiovascular system or the nervous system. So we'll do specific testing based upon that to see how you're working, how your body is working. And where it isn't working, that's where we start correcting.
Yeah.
Well, how do your tests differ from traditional medicine tests?
They're highly specialized laboratory tests, and in many cases we complement traditional medicine, but we go, like I stated earlier, we go a lot deeper than that. Mm-hmm. For instance, if you've got some digestive problems, I'll give you an example here. I had a patient came into me a couple of years ago with tremendous digestive problems, and she had gas and bloating and constipation and diarrhea for years. It's been going on for 25 years.
Wow. So
I asked her, I said, you know, what happened 25 years ago? She says, she started thinking, and, well, I got married 25 years ago. And that's usually the response I get. I said, okay, so did you go on a honeymoon? She says, yes. I said, where'd you go? She says, I went to Mexico. So I asked the likely question, which is, did you get sick there? Did Montezuma revenge on you? And she says, as a matter of fact, yes. I got really sick for about a week when I came back, and took the over-the-counter medications. That was fine.
Wow.
But then, a few months later, as she was fine for a few months, she started getting digestive problems. So she went to her doctor, her family doctor, and instead of asking these questions, the doctor just immediately started giving her some medications to, antacids.
Sure.
And this went on for a long time, and it wasn't getting any better, kind of symptomatically controlling things. But then she went to the specialist, and again, more medications. So I said, why don't we start with a simple test and see what's going on inside the gut? So we did a simple stool test, and these tests are tests that you can do at home, and then you send into the lab. So they're mostly all home-based lab tests that you do at home, you send into the lab. Well, when the lab test came back, needless to say, she was just loaded with bacterial overgrowth. She had parasites that more than likely she picked up 25 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So we started treating it, and I treat it as natural as possible. If we can deal with it with botanicals and diet change and nutritional supplements, we'll do that. But what's even more important in functional medicine is that we do follow-up tests.